Okay.
All right. Let's get this going.
I wish there's a setting in Zoom where I could turn off the dialogue that pops up when someone starts recording. Because
Yeah,
I know you're
I know.
recording. I can
Yeah,
see
I know.
on the screen where it says you're recording.
So annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. All right. Sorry. Get this going here. It's a bad thing.
Oh.
Go here first.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
All right. Go on YouTube here. And we're going to Facebook. To that. I'm not posting anything in Back to the Future anymore. Pointless.
Mm.
Not just because of that, just pointless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're not getting anything from it, then
There's nobody
why?
in there. There's 4,000 lurkers. Pretty much. All right. I got Facebook gone. Let me get Twitter. We're going to get out of it and we'll get going. Got you guys in the Twitter. Let me do it on In Touch with iOS. Do that. All right. We got it. Ready to go here. Okay, we're at episode 228. Get the notes. Don't need that anymore. As I talk through all this, 1 minute after. All right, there we go. Okay. Audio hijack is recording. And my Zoom back up. Is recording to the cloud this time. All right. You guys ready?
So ready.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 228 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week, Andrew Orr, one of the great editors on Apple Insider. How you doing, Andrew? Thanks for being here.
Hey, I'm doing good.
Glad you were able to make it. And also Jeff Gamet is here. We always appreciate him being here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well. And as always, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we got some good topics for this week. Plenty of news going on here. The iPad and iPhone and streaming and Jeff's iPhone and all kinds of stuff. But let's just go dive right into the news and talk about some of the stuff that's been going on this week. First thing I came across this week is the iPad, the 10th generation, which of course is coming with USB-C in 2.0 port, is slowest on all iPads. Last week, when they had introduced it, it was discovered that the actual port that is on the iPad 10th gen is slower than the rest of the iPads. They break it down here. In the article here, the iPad Pro has up to 40 gigabits speed through the USB-C. The iPad Air has 10 gigabits. The Mini has 5 gigabits. You got the 10th and 9th gen at 480 megabits. I'm sorry, the rest of them are 40 gigabits, 10 gigabits, 5 gigabits, and then now the 10th and the 9th gen are at 480 megabits. So it's quite a bit slower, I must say. And if anybody's planning on using it to transfer photos and such, I don't think this is going to be a really good thing. mean, the iPad 10th gen. I know, Andrew, you did a review of it, or you wrote up an article about the comparisons of the iPads. What do you think about this? This is definitely interesting. Let's see.
I think it's pretty disappointing because I think that the current lightning point that we all have introduced, 10 years ago is still like USB-C or USB 2.0 speeds. And so even though this isn't a pro device, I think I still would have liked Apple to include the latest speeds that they are at least currently adding to the rest of the iPad Pro line.
Okay. What about you, Jeff? Do you think this is kind of crazy that Apple did this to make it so slow for especially a newer device?
I think it's really weird. I can't see how this would be a cost issue, because at this point, the cost of USB 3 versus USB 2,
right,
it has to be pretty negligible. And setting this or putting this in as an artificial differentiator between devices, it seems like a really weird move, especially since they're not talking about it. So how would people know?
Yeah, exactly. It just got discovered by someone testing it, basically, in essence. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see where it's going to go. But I think most common users of the iPad are probably the 10th gen probably aren't going to really care much. But those who are going to use it, especially for photo uploads and such, it's going to be slow. It's going to be a slow process to get those up.
Yeah, it will be.
Let's see. The next story here is let's talk about iPad. There's a PSA here sending emails about Apple. What has been sending emails? I got my email about an Apple One bundle, which is Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, all the pricing increases that we talked about the other day. So they did officially send out the message to everybody that Apple Music's $1 more expensive for individual users, $2 more for families, and then Apple TV Plus was up $1, $2. So the bundle that I have the annual plan. I'm sorry, not for the Apple One plan. I have the premium plan, which is now went from $29.95 a month to $32.95 a month. So it's a $3 increase. So it was inevitable. I can't imagine that the pricing wasn't going to stay the same for long. So what do you think, Jeff? This is not surprising at all, but that's good. Apple's warning everybody that the prices are going up through email.
Yes, at least Apple's being transparent about it. I appreciate why some people are looking at this as an unacceptable price increase, even at $1 or $2. But yeah, it's okay. So from what I've seen, it's sounding like a big part of this is related to the licensing that Apple has to pay back to content creators.
True.
And I mean, if that goes up, Apple's not going to just eat that. It doesn't matter how much money they're making. They're not going to eat that. That gets passed on. So
no business sense.
It's just the nature of the business. And all the other services have been doing little increases as well. Here we are.
Yep. What do you think, Andrew?
I think it was, also inevitable, but it also sucks for us consumers. I was pretty disappointed to see Apple TV Plus in particular raise their prices, because I really thought for the longest time that $4.99 price beat out all the other streaming services, even though unlike a lot of the other ones like Netflix, Apple didn't really have the catalog of all the other non-original content. But I thought that was still, from my perspective, a good we're the most affordable streaming service, subscribe to us.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. But Apple has done a good job of getting a lot more content on Apple TV Plus. I mean, beyond the Ted Lasso, the morning show, and all the other stuff that started with it all. But there's just a ton of new stuff and more to come. So so there's some value there. So I can't see it being a terribly hard thing to deal with. But but buyer beware. You got to decide, is it still worth your while? And I think all of us here feel it is. So we'll kind of bite the bullet and pay to go.
Mhm.
So the next story here, iPhone 14 Pro lead times are growing as the factories in China's COVID-19 outbreak. Lead times for the iPhone 14 Pro have increased. It's a tracker that claims this, and a change that may be the byproduct of Foxconn's COVID outbreak. In the 8th week of the Apple product availability tracker, the analysts see that there has been some changes to the iPhone 14 generation, while others are more static. So there's been a lot of press about this, as far as that outbreak at the Foxconn factory. That's a pretty important factory for Apple when it comes to iPhones. So this is from your employer, Apple Insider, that got a lot of this data. What do you think, Andrew? Where this is going?
Yeah, overall, Apple did very well in certain iPhone models, especially the Pro models, the iPhone 14 Pro, Pro Max. They have been doing really well compared to the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Plus. So, Apple had their earnings report October 27th. And overall, they've had some challenges like all the other companies, but they've still been doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Jeff?
I think this is something that we're going to have to get used to, and not just from Apple, but from tons of different companies. And my office manager just decided to hop up and help.
I see.
Yeah. Anyhow, regardless of where you personally feel we are in the current pandemic, the likelihood we're going to see other large scale situations like this seems pretty likely. So we need to be prepared for factories to have to lock down and temporarily close down or scale back production because they have a reduced workforce, or they're not allowed to let people into the factory to work. So yeah, I think this is a thing going forward. Apple's in a good position though, because they have Tim Cook, who's the master of supply chains.
Yes,
so if any company is going to be able to weather this without too much of a headache, it'll be Apple.
Absolutely. So see where it goes. At least it's not a supply chain issue. I mean, I think that's picked up. I think has been helpful, because I order a lot of stuff from other manufacturers, and it seems like lead times have been a lot better than they have been in the last 6 months. So so definitely interesting. Pluto TV. Anybody is familiar with Pluto TV? They're a free streamer. They're adding over 6,300 classic TV episodes to their site. The free streaming service, Pluto TV, says they will add all those classic TV shows. There's so many. There's a long laundry list of them here. Notably, you got Andy Griffith's Show, you got the Brady Bunch, you got Frasier, The Odd Couple. There's so much stuff here, and the shows are now going to start streaming on demand, as well as continuing the content feed through their linear feeds in November as we record here. So I didn't realize that. I guess I forgot that Pluto TV is owned by Paramount, which is part of Paramount Plus. Of course, they're available on all the platforms: Apple TV, Roku, I guess Sling TV. So it's actually a pretty decent service. I mean, obviously you got to deal with commercials, but who doesn't want to go and have a Love Boat channel and a 3 Threes Company channel? So I mean,
that's pretty compelling right there.
Yeah, what do you think, Jeff?
This is great. Give people more ways to consume content in legit ways, and they will do it.
Yeah, I get, and all this old stuff is not probably too terribly having licensing thing. In fact, Star Trek, the original series, and Deep Space Nine is on there too. So they put those in there. They just added. So, any thoughts, Andrew?
I've heard of Pluto TV. I haven't really looked into it, but this new sounds cool. I actually grew up watching some of those old shows. Like I like the Andy Griffith Show. Leave It to Beaver, all that old fun stuff. So this sounds really nice.
Even Hawaii Five-0, Have Gun Will Travel, Happy Days. Yeah, there's a lot of good shows you can go back and remember those days. And the Twilight Zones are always very popular. So, yeah, definitely going to be something that's great to see. They're really expanding the content. Always got to promote it. It's free. I mean, gosh, how could you beat free? Next story here: Amazon Music is now joining Apple in boasting a catalog of 100 million songs. This was written by somebody named Andrew Order. The Amazon Music is now offering 100 million songs to Prime members, the same as Apple Music, but there's a catch. The company announced this week that Prime members will get access to the new features in Amazon Music, and new exclusive shows and series. But I think you're going to be limited to how you can listen to it. Andrew, what did you find out about this?
Yeah, so they redesigned the Amazon Music app with all of these new features. They have some new podcasts coming out, and for the music side, 100 million songs does sound impressive, but the catch is that it sounds like it's only going to be available when people do shuffle mode,
right?
And not just at will, like Apple Music playing whatever song album you want at any time.
Right, because then now, if you want to have that, then you have to go to their unlimited paid service, like they've had for a long time. I think Apple was doing that too with their cheap plan, where I think you could only use Siri to get songs to play. I think that $4.99 a month plan, I think it was, that Apple Music was offering. So that's good to see. I mean, I'm a Prime member, and I never had any compelling reason to want to subscribe to the music part of it because I already had Apple Music. So, but any thoughts, Jeff?
When I got the email from Amazon saying, "Hey, we're doing this thing," unless I'm misinterpreting what was in the email, it's not like they're adding new songs. It's just that they're taking part of the library that previously required the premium music subscription to get, and they're making all of that music available to everyone that is a Prime subscriber. And when you go to the premium music, then you have more control over how you listen to the music, like Andrew said, and you also get the the high res versions of the songs as well.
Right.
And Andrew, am I misinterpreting that?
No, that sounds right to me. Yeah.
So, for the way that I would use Prime Music when I do, I'm okay with the shuffle mode because I'm going to ask for like a particular genre of music to play. And it can do that. So great. Now there'll just be more music that's part of that random shuffle.
Yeah. Well, I'll check it out, see how it works. At least it isn't Pandora, and you're not paying for it, and then you have to deal with ads and
right,
and no control as well. So, but we'll see. Next story here. This was also written by you, Andrew. The YouTube's to stream Paramount Plus, Showtime, but no Apple TV or Netflix. YouTube has announced a plan to offer subscriptions to over 30 rival streaming services on its platform, but the highest profile one, such as Apple TV, is not going to be there. The streaming store, Prime Channels, is very similar to what the Apple TV app does. They aggregate a lot of the different services. The YouTube is going to be doing it without having to leave YouTube. So I think this is kind of a smart thing, and the partnership was very exciting with YouTube and Paramount Plus. So I think this was pretty exciting to see it on YouTube as well. Tell us your thoughts on this, Andrew.
Yeah, I wasn't really too surprised when, they announced all these different streaming channels under this new product called Primetime Channels,
Mhm.
that they didn't include Apple TV Plus because they're it seems to me that they're directly competing with each other by being like a kind of a hub for all these other streaming services.
Yeah. Okay. And Jeff, what's your thoughts?
I think Andrew nailed it. When you look at Paramount Plus, Showtime, services like that, we can think of those like channels, even though they are streaming services. When you look at Netflix and Apple TV Plus, you're looking at something that is a direct competitor to what YouTube is trying to do here, just like Andrew said. So
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any surprises here. It's just more of the same competition.
Got it. Yep. Good. That keeps this going and keeps the competition running here. Next story. This is also written by you, Andrew. Some Apple customers report Face ID issue with iOS 16. I have actually noticed this myself here. An unknown number of iPhone users have reported problems with Face ID not working immediately after updating to iOS 16. It is unclear how people are affected by the Face ID bug, or if it's particular models or not. But there's been Reddit threads that started about 2 months ago, growing a number of users that were complaining about it and all that fun stuff. And what do you think, Andrew? This is definitely something that's a little bit of a bug, but it doesn't seem widespread.
Yeah, it doesn't seem widespread. We recently noticed these reports on the internet. It kind of sounds like maybe it's some kind of hardware issue, because people on that Reddit thread, there was at least one person who said when they took their iPhone to the Apple store, the Apple technician there said it was some kind of hardware issue. And so because of that, it doesn't sound like it's kind of a widespread issue.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Apple likes to keep it quiet, so to make sure. And if it's a substantial widespread issue, then they're usually pretty good at acknowledging it. Any thoughts, Jeff?
My first thought is Andrew's writing a lot. Go you, Andrew.
He is.
I guess.
Got a lot of good articles to talk about from you this week.
Yeah. And Dave, what you said about Apple being quiet about problems like this, even if this was a really widespread problem, I think it's pretty safe. You could walk into an Apple store and have them look at your phone, and even though they know it's a widespread problem, have someone say, "Wow, this is a new one."
Yeah, exactly. So definitely interesting. So that is some of the news stories I found for this week. One of the topics, beta this week, iOS and iPadOS 16.2 beta 1 continues. I haven't noticed anything different from what we talked about last week when it comes to beta. I know, well, Andrew, you do run beta on your iOS, on your iPhone. Have you noticed anything for 16.2?
I run the early betas. Once the official release comes out, then I just switch to that. So I'm not sure what's in these new ones.
Oh, okay. And Jeff, are you running anything on your iPad that was notable?
The one thing that's standing out to me is that continuity seems to be more reliable.
Okay.
Prior to this beta, I would periodically have issues where, even though my Mac knew my iPad was right there, I couldn't get the cursor to switch over to the iPad screen or use my keyboard with that iPad. But
Right.
now it seems to be working very reliably.
Well, that's good to hear. And I'm running it on one of my iPads, and it seems pretty reliable for the most part. Mark Gurman, the well-known Bloomberg journalist, talked about last week in his Power On newsletter that what's expected for the remainder of 2022. He is saying that the iOS 16.2 will launch in mid-December. The new features will include, of course, the live activities we've talked about for the TV sports games and other activities. Lock screen sleep widget is going to be available, which is one thing. The Freeform app, which they did announce at WWDC, that for the iPad that I believe is in beta. I don't know if you've had any opportunity to try that at all, Jeff, but
I don't have anyone to try it with.
yeah,
I clearly need to make new friends or more friends.
Oh, we probably should do it. I could do it on my iPad that I have.
Oh, right. Yeah, we could do this.
We got to make a note to do that. The external display to support with iPad OS 16. That was an interesting thing. I haven't tried that, but it's select iPad models, so it may not work. I don't know. Yeah,
I won't be able to test that on.
Yeah, you're the old one. Yeah. So there's a few notable things in there. There also he also mentioned that iOS 16.3 will probably won't get released until like February or March of next year, 2023. There has really obviously nothing really right now as far as what's going to be in that. But by that time, Ventura, Mac OS Ventura will probably be at .3 version as well. So always interesting in the beta world, see where things go. I know Mac OS Ventura is in 13.1 right now, so that as far as beta. That's being tested. I did broke down. I did install Ventura on my primary Mac now, so I think it's been pretty solid. Because especially I wanted to try out Continuity Camo, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. So definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. Next topic here, I want to talk a little bit about iMessage. It is a powerful tool we use all the time, and it's not just text messages. Could it be something that a lot of businesses could be looking at as far as a good communications tool? But Apple needs to expand upon it, the platforms, because the big complaint obviously is people who are still on Android or are on Android that want to be able to not be a green bubble. Apple is just not interested in opening that up at all. But there are a lot of businesses already using iMessage for business. Apple, for one, of course, I've seen SiriusXM does it, and they have that specific business chat. So when you have a chat conversation through messages, you're able to do that. I mean, when I work with when you message the Goldman Sachs for the Apple Card, then it's the same thing. You're using the business chat. So, but it can definitely be used as a collaboration tool. So I mean, look at chat and Messenger and all that stuff. I think Apple's got some room for improvement. What do you think, Jeff, as far as messages go? Can this be expanded beyond what we are experiencing now?
Well, I mean, the short answer is yes. It's just a matter of how much money and time does Apple want to throw at the project. The thing is, though, what can Apple do that will bring something new to this space? Right. Because they need something that can compete with Slack in the business space. And of course, there's other platforms like Microsoft that do the sort of thing that Slack does. Right. If Apple's going to take iMessage and turn it into something that's a stronger business communication tool, then they need to take on Slack. Yeah, and I don't know what they can bring to the table that's going to make iMessage that much more compelling to people over Slack.
Hard to say. What do you think, Andrew? Do you think it's something Apple should expand upon, and what are they waiting for?
I'm not really sure, I guess. Like, I don't really see Apple, like you said, Apple, the iMessage, like with Apple Business Chat, they already have some business features enabled. I don't really see them wanting to split the iMessage messages app into, for consumers and for businesses only. And I kind of feel like if they did add more business features to messages, it would get kind of bloated and some things would just get lost in the mix. So yeah, I think they should, tread carefully.
Yeah, I mean,
I have an idea.
Yeah, go ahead.
What they could do is what they did early on. Do you remember when iChat would let you log into multiple services and manage everything in iChat? Why can't we have that now in messages? And then I can log into Slack and Discord and whatever else, and have it all in that unified message interface.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
It would be nice. Yeah, I hope they expand on it. I mean, I think it's something that they need to jump on, and it's just boils down to, like you said, they want to compete with Slack. They want to compete with those types of services that offer those types of interaction and chat. Apple uses Slack. I mean, they're a Slack customer. I mean, I know that for a fact. We're working with the support, and I always hear them say, "Well, they're checking our Slack." And
Yeah,
so
they do WWDC events in Slack.
Right. They do all their so it's they've embraced it. I mean, now Salesforce owns it, so it's a little more, got some more backing to it now. So still gonna be interesting to see where it goes with that. So a couple things I want to talk about. One of them was follow up, and Jeff, you just did it today actually, so it's fresh in your mind.
So
Episode
fresh.
2. So fresh. And in episode 223, which I have a link in the show notes, you can go back and listen to what we talked about before. Jeff was kind of deciding whether or not he should switch away from that dreaded AT&T and go to Mint Mobile. Well, he's made a decision. What did you do, Jeff?
I went to Mint Mobile, and
Right.
actually, as we record, I can count the number of hours I've been on Mint Mobile on one hand, and so far it's fine.
Yeah.
The process, however,
That's what I
didn't go smoothly, and while I want to blame it all on AT&T, they are the reason why it didn't go smoothly, but I can't fault them, because what happened was, when I was following the instructions to do the transfer porting of my current phone number to Mint,
Right.
it asked for a PIN number. And it wasn't clear to me that the PIN number they want is a different PIN that's just a transfer PIN, and not the PIN that I use with my AT&T account when I call in for tech support.
Right.
So I put the wrong PIN in. It didn't work. And ultimately I'm like, well, crap. Okay. So I call AT&T because I can't, on the website, I can't generate this PIN thing. And they tell me, oh, no, you do *7678 on your phone, and you're going to get a message with that PIN. Now use that, which I did. And then the process failed. Turns out that if you put an invalid PIN in when you're trying to port a number to a new carrier, it immediately flags your account for possible fraud, like someone trying to steal your number.
Right.
So then the process of getting the transfer complete involves getting a message from AT&T, having to type in a code on my phone, and then having the new carrier, in this case Mint, resubmit the request, which then generates a message for me where I have to put in this code, and then they have to resubmit the request.
Right.
And Mint Mobile support, they were great. T-Mobile support was great, which is probably not what people want to hear, but both sides actually were pretty good. Here's where the problem came in, and there was a problem with both carriers. So on the AT&T side, they didn't realize at first what the problem was, and ultimately I had to do some online sleuthing to realize that I had a fraud protection hold on my account, which then led me to having to find a phone number for AT&T to call. And when I did, the person that I had on the phone from the fraud team was very helpful, but didn't really understand what the problem was. When he finally got it, then he's like, hold on, comes back, and he's like, here's this other number that I just found that you and I should both know. And you call this number, and this is who can actually pull the fraud hold off of the account.
Ah,
So I called and they did. And then the process went fine. Okay, here's where the problem came in on the Mint side. When I got on to their support, I told them the process. I put in the wrong PIN, I got the right PIN, and this is the problem I'm having now. They should have known that because I put the wrong PIN in initially, that there would be a fraud hold on the account. And then
should
they
know.
could have told me, you need to call this AT&T number, tell them what's happened, and then we can initiate the transfer request for you.
Yep.
So it ended up being a multi-hour process as I figured it all out. But once I had that fraud hold lifted, I just went right back to Mint's support chat and said, here's my case number. Here's what's going on. I have gotten AT&T to lift the hold. Please do the transfer request now. And they did. And from the time that they started that to the time that my phone number was active on Mint Mobile was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you have the right info to begin with, it's a super fast, super simple process.
Sounds like the moral of the story is prepare yourself for porting of a number. You got to know all the steps.
Right. I mean, if someone like me that's deep in this all the time can misunderstand what PIN they need, then the average person can do it too. And can you imagine the frustration they would have trying to sort out what I did?
Absolutely. Andrew, what carrier do you use for your phone?
I am with Visible. This is an MVNO from Verizon.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that's episode 223. We did go through a lot of the MVNO carriers that were, and I remember we talked about them. So they're giving you good service.
I've had problems with them recently. I tried switching to T-Mobile, but I had issues and that didn't work. So I'm still with them for now.
Okay. Yeah, I've been with T-Mobile for a number of years now, and then Mint is MVNO for T-Mobile. So I've been pretty happy with them. So yeah, give it another shot. You might even consider Mint. I mean, Mint might be another opportunity because the pricing for Mint is pretty incredible.
Crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I was paying 90 something a month for my service on AT&T. The same service on Mint is $20 a month.
that's like, wow.
Yeah, and even when AT&T tried to talk me out of leaving, because of course they have to,
Yes.
they were trying to come up with all these deals, and the best they could get for me, assuming that I signed up for AARP, would be 50 something a month.
Oh,
Otherwise, it was like 60 a month. And I'm like, hey, but okay, you're offering me for 1 month what will cost me on Mint for a whole quarter.
right.
I mean, thank you for trying to cut me a better deal, but you can't cut me that good of a deal.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got switched, and I mean, I tried Mint Mobile in the past, and they have really good service. I just I've got a family plan of a number of lines that on T-Mobile, and we divide that up, and the pricing's really good. I'm only paying $40 for my phone a month, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you have a good deal, there you go. Interesting thing with AT&T, the person that helped me initially before I ended up having to call back and get into the whole fraud team thing, she was great. And before we wrapped up, she said, because I told her, look, I'm signing up for the 3-month thing, and that's it. I mean, this is happening. Yeah. She said, but just so you know, we have a special program where if you want to come back to us within 59 days of leaving, you let us know, and then we take your account that already exists and we just reactivate it. And so there's like nothing special you have to do. And then she said, and of course, we can figure out what's the best deal for you and get some prices down there. So the fact that I've signed up for 3 months And if it turns out that for whatever reason Mint just does not work for me and I need to go back to AT&T,
Sure.
they've done the smart thing, which is make it super easy to come back. Just call them and let them know, and they flip a switch. And
Smart.
yeah, probably have to send me a new SIM, but whatever.
Yeah, well, everything with eSIM now too. Things are changing with that as well.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Yeah. And you can have multiple eSIMs attached to your SIM and you can switch between them. Yeah. So they could just do that.
Yep. So no, good. Thanks for sharing your experience. Real quick, I wanted to talk a little bit about home internet, ISP that I have. I've been with Comcast Xfinity for a long time, and I've been waiting for AT&T fiber to come to my neighborhood. Well, they finally came, so I decided to want to check it out. So I got the 1 gigabit plan, and I must say I'm using it right now as we're doing this show. So speeds are pretty incredible. You got 1 gig up and 1 gig down, and you're getting
I thought you were talking faster.
I did go 2 gig, and then I started looking at it. I'm like, I'm never going to attain that. And plus, I didn't find it to be that much of a. It's like a $30 difference in price a month, so it's like I just didn't justify it. So I switched right away to the 1 gig plan. But it speeds are pretty incredible, I must say. Fiber is a smart way to go, because Comcast Xfinity is going to never give you the upload speeds that they have. So far so good. I won't go into all the boring stuff the boring stuff that I encountered with the account issues and my account getting canceled, and I had to reactivate it. The whole fun thing there that happened, but I was able to hook up their gateway router and put it in IP pass through mode. So then I'm using my own router, so I don't have to use their horrible Wi-Fi on their gateway router, and so it's working real well. I want to switch it to the Eero. Unfortunately, I had to keep Comcast for now because family wants to keep TV service, and of course, if you take something out of a bundle, you'll end up paying more if you're not. So
yeah, cable logic.
It's good. It's a good thing that I'm actually going to have the Comcast as a backup, because the problem is if you want to use the stream services for Comcast stuff, you have to be on their Wi-Fi at home in order to be able to see it all. So because you can't be on a different network. So we'll see where it goes. Hope I can talk the wife into switch into something else. We could get away from X70, but we'll see. The next topic, I know this one's a good one for Andrew especially, was security issues with iOS 16.1. There was some pretty bad zero-day exploits that Apple had taken care of when 16.1 came out. That I was glad to see that they did that, because the zero-day exploits can be pretty bad. But I found this to be interesting. This was in Ars Technica, actually, an article here, that Apple did clarify that their security update policy, that only the latest OSs are fully patched. They did actually share a document in their support document clarifying its terminology and policies around it about upgrades. But throughout the document, it says Apple uses upgrade to refer for major OS releases, and that adds big new features and new interface changes and all that stuff. But it kind of concerned me when I read through this and seeing that that they're not doing patches as frequently on the older OSs, because there are still a lot of devices out there running iOS 15, iOS 14. That they confirmed that it was confirmed that security researchers have been aware of for a while, but Apple really hasn't publicly articulated it before. So I don't know if you've seen this article or this information before, Andrew. Have you any thoughts on this?
I haven't read that article. It sounds kind of weird, especially because in iOS 16 and Ventura, Apple added this feature into the system called rapid security responses, so that they can issue all these security patches and fixes to devices outside of the normal system update process. So it sounds kind of weird to me that they would say, even despite that, the latest systems or the older systems still aren't fully patched.
Yeah, it kind of I was kind of a little worried about that, because they actually have, the Apple platform development link to it's in this article about software updates for Apple devices. And if you read through, when you're reading through this, it's like watching paint dry sometimes. We're reading some of this stuff. But it definitely was something that I found to be interesting to see that Apple is kind of acknowledging it, that they aren't spending as much time patching a lot of these older OSs. So I mean, I understand if it's an OS that's like you're going back to like Mojave or anything older than that. Yeah, Apple doesn't want to mess with that anymore. Same thing in iOS. iOS 12 or iOS 13, or iOS 14 for that matter. There can't be a lot of devices sitting out on those. But iOS 15 is the one that concerns me, because there are a lot of devices that still people are holding on to, especially like the 6S and the 6 and the iPhone line and some of the older iPads, that they're stuck with either 12 or 13 or 14 or sometimes 15. That they should be patching it, at least if they're still current. Because I do see them release stuff from time to time when there is some pretty bad exploits, but it's not very frequent.
Okay, here's the problem that I see, and it's a logistics problem. I'm not giving Apple a pass on this, because they've got enough money to address this logistics problem. When you do the software development cycles, you're working in sprints typically, which any of the developers out there that are listening right now, they all just went, sprints, because that's what you do. You work on part of the project, and then that's done, and then you move on to the next thing and the next thing. So for Apple to be staying on top of continually updating the security fixes that we need for the older operating systems means that you need to take human resources from somewhere and assign them to work on that. So what's the best way to do that? I mean, do you just have a team of developers whose sole job is to maintain old operating systems? Or do you take one of the sprints that you would otherwise be using for updates to the current operating system and work on updates for previous operating systems? And my guess is that for Apple, like pretty much any other company, you don't have a team just for the old stuff. So you have to put one of your sprint cycles in as updates for the old stuff. And because of that, we end up with delays. In some cases, we don't get updates that would be really useful for security. And I'm with you. I see that as a problem. It's a security issue, and Apple has the resources to make this not be a problem. And for whatever reason, they are not making that. Well, I totally botched that sentence. They are not addressing that in a way that makes us happy as users.
Yeah. Any last comments on that, Andrew, with this?
I don't think so. I agree with Jeff. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Well, just be aware that you got to stay secure, and it's sometimes going to be hard to when Apple's not going to patch stuff. So, continuity camera, that's been out now in the wild. I don't know if either of you have tried it yet. I just tried it with my iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it's pretty seamless. I must admit, it does allow you to use your iPhone as a webcam. You can also use it to insert photos and documents on your Mac, and then use it as part of FaceTime. And it does work with the iPhone's camera system. And then they talked about it earlier this year with WWDC, and a couple of the system requirements that you're required as far as using continuity camera is your Mac and iPad or iPhone have to be on the same Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth need to be turned on. And your Mac, iPhone, and iPad must be signed into the same iCloud account, so you can't just use your camera for any old Mac here. And you need an iPad or an iPhone or iPad has to be running iOS 12 or later, which is interesting. So It does. This article actually talks about this, and it does work with being able to scan and insert apps using continuity with the Finder, Keynote, Mail, Messages, Notes, Numbers, Pages, and Text Edit, which is good. And then using your camera for FaceTime, you got iPhone 12 series and later. Center Stage can be used with iPhone 11 and later, and then the portrait mode can be used in the 10R and later. Now, notably, the Mac apps that work with FaceTime continuity camera is FaceTime, of course, Zoom, and Teams and WebEx. So they picked the top 4 platforms there for doing that. So, Andrew, have you tried it all with continuity camera with your iPhone at all?
Not yet. I will be trying it out soon, though. It sounds like a pretty cool feature.
Yeah, it really is. Really is. So I started trying a little bit. I mean, I've talked about this. I talked about last week when Camo from Reincubate introduced a Wi-Fi feature of their software. So now I'm using Camo, and my iPhone 10R is now working wirelessly, which is awesome. But only drawback to that is if you don't plug it in. If it isn't plugged in, your battery's going to drain pretty quick. So you're only probably going to get an hour or two anyway. But you could plug it in and then keep it wireless, do it wireless as well. So, Jeff, have you tried continuity cam at all yet?
Not in anything official yet, but
Yeah.
I've played around with it some. And actually, I have a Mac user group coming up next week.
Oh, nice.
And so I'll use it for that. And this is awful. Here's the thing that's kept me from using it regularly so far, and it's that I don't want to take my Logitech camera off of my Plexicam mount. So I need to pull out my Lego bin and build a new camera holder out of Lego just for testing. And then if I decide I really want to use my iPhone as a primary camera all the time, then I'll figure out something more permanent. But yeah, I'm going to build a phone holder out of Lego.
Yeah, there's more to come with continuity camera as people use it. I mean, this Ventura's only been out for a few weeks. Got to give people some time to play. I'm just so used to Camo. I having more trouble getting the 10R to work than I am with the 14 Pro Max. Go figure. It's a newer device. So definitely will be interesting. So next topic I want to talk about real quick here is about the Home app in iOS 16. I know Jeff, you're a big Home app user. You get a lot of things set up for your home, your lighting. What is your initial thoughts with the revamping of the app? I actually really like it as far as what they did.
I think it's a lot better. My go-to for home controls after I have everything set up is, I think it's Home Plus, because it actually gives you more control. But I'm finding now that that iOS 16 is out, that I'm using the Home app more often than I was before.
Yeah. Especially with HomePods. I know that's always a tough subject for you because HomePods are so bad.
It's amazing how great of a selling tool for Echo the HomePod is.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because it's such a good product, but it just performs so poorly.
Yeah. So I like the layout. It's much better. It's easier to navigate. Andrew, do you use the Home app at all for any of your stuff in your house?
No, I don't.
Okay. So you haven't really had much experience with it at all. So yeah, check it out. We have an article linked here to how Apple actually approached the redesigning of the new Home app. I think they really did a much better job of doing things, with Matter as a collaboration with Apple and others. That's going to add some things with AI and other things. So let's definitely check it out and see where it goes here. So before we wrap up, I had 2 products I wanted to review this week. I actually had 2 that I purchased this week, and the first one is it's made by a company called TechMate. I have it here on camera here. This is an Apple Pencil case. It's a charging case. So when you open it up, the pencil is right inside there, as I'm showing on camera. This is compatible with the the Pencil 2, the second generation. And even it has a place you can put extra tips if you want to in here. And this gives you another option of charging the pencil instead of having to put it on top of the iPad, where it's very easy to lose it. It does a really good job charging it, and if it's something you want to carry separately, I think it isn't a bad idea to do. It does have a USB-C connector, so you just plug that in and charge this. It charges the battery that's built into this case. It's only like $29, not a bad deal. I think it's something that as a secondary way of charging an iPad, Apple Pencil is not a bad thing here. So, do you use Apple Pencil at all, Andrew?
No, but that sounds cool. I don't think I've ever seen a charging case for an Apple Pencil before.
Yeah. You'd think they'd have it for the Apple Pencil first gen, but no, they want you to buy the gosh darn connector and get a cable between Lightning and USB-C. So, so it's just for the Apple Pencil, the second generation here. So, second product here, and then plus these are good stuff for gifts too. So that's another reason I'm bringing this up here. There's a company called Fledging. I've done reviews on their products before. I have a iPad case. It's got the nice hub on the bottom of the case, a real solid case that plugs it in. But they came out with this one. This is the white colored version of this one. This is called the Spruce Charger, and this is a fast charge, 140 watt desktop charger. It actually has this Qi charging, so it's all GaN. That you put your iPhone right in here, it charges it just by MagSafe, which is nice. 140 watts coming in. There's 4 ports here. You have 3 USB-Cs that have each 100 watts of charging power on it, and then the USB-A has, I believe, like around 20 or 30 watts. And this thing is pretty slick. I'm actually gonna, as I'm traveling tomorrow, I'm gonna bring this with me, and it's definitely something nice to charge with. I have links to both of these in the show notes from Amazon. This is on Amazon right now for $69, which you think about, not too terribly expensive for something that does a lot of charging. And it does use a standard power cord that you plug in, like the standard power cord, as you can see this here on the back here, that plugs in, and just plug it right into the wall. And it's not a bad device to have on your nightstand too, if you want to have your phone propped up and do that. It does charge the AirPods Pro, the second gen. I can leave it on top and charge it there, and it does charge it wirelessly, or you can of course plug it in and charge it wired. So a couple cool products to check out this week. Something you guys be interested in on this? I think this is not a bad little guy.
I'm actually interested in both of these.
Yeah.
But that case, I mean, that's really compelling. One of the problems that I have is when I'm out and about with my iPad Pro and I want my Apple Pencil to be charged, oftentimes it gets knocked off the iPad, and I'm fishing in the bottom of my bag trying to find a pencil that didn't get charged.
Yep. It's a little, sometimes you got to be careful to grab this on the inside, because I'm already trying to do it, and I'm notorious of dropping this gosh darn pencil because it just slips right out of your hand. I'm sure you are too. But this is it's a great little thing, and it does another little alternate of a accessory that can do your thing. Yeah, got both links in the show notes for both those products. And
how much does that Spruce charger weigh?
I don't know if it says. Does it say it on Amazon? It's got a little bit of weight to it.
I should look.
It does have weight. This actually comes in a space gray color as well as this white that I'm showing on camera here. I think it says it in the Amazon description. I would probably say it's got to be close to a pound, because it's got it's got to have a pretty heavy.
1.83 pounds. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just
so it's almost 2 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
something
it's heavy
in my carry-on bag or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna bring it with me to my trip tomorrow and see how it goes, because I would be carrying all kinds of stuff anyway, but it is kind of heavy. There's no question about it, but worth giving it a chance here and check it out. So with that's all we got for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed what we had to talk about, and I'm glad both of you were here for this week. So let's go ahead and wrap it up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at In Touch with iOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can also become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, which is usually at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. We just did Wednesdays this week because I'm going to be traveling. But go to youtube.com/intouchwithios where you can watch the live stream like we're doing now, and we can also listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in the show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Mimir, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I'm Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Andrew Orr, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And where people can find you.
Hey, you can find my writing at appleinsider.com, and my Twitter username is at Andrew or not. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. And Jeff Gamet, always a pleasure to have you here. Where can people find you?
It's always great to be here, and it's awesome that I'm getting to hang out with both of you right now. So yeah,
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Let's see, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Jay Gamet on those. Basically, Jay Gamet on all the services, and then most Tuesdays with both of you on Mac Voices Live, and then Thursdays on the Big Show, Fridays on the Mac Show, and then usually Thursdays here with you, but tonight Wednesday, and then the Context Machine with Brian Chaffin.
Great. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for listening. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, guys.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew, I had a couple topics I didn't know if you were going to have too much to say about.
Yeah, there was a couple I didn't really know anything about.